Hello, everybody, and welcome to the fourth episode of SchmoeTalks. We are back once again this week, the second part of our big three-part episode on which we are breaking down the factions going into Season 8 of the Schmoedown. Yesterday, we broke down the first three factions in the Dungeon, the Usual Suspects, and the Den. And that was a lot of fun in and of itself, talking about those different teams, definitely being the three teams that needed to reconstruct the most. And I would say for the most part, they did a really solid job of it. But today we're getting into the three teams that finished very mid-range. And so there was that question of what are the pieces that are going to advance them and help them get even higher possibly. And I am not alone once again. Joining me today in breaking them down. First off, I believe, if I remember correctly, his first appearance on the show, and it's bad if I'm asking that because we're 4 episodes in, but he is a member of TMG. He is the commissioner of our TM Geek League, and he is certainly interested in getting into some of these players. Mr. Kevin Poss joined me for the first time. Kevin, how's it going, man? Welcome to the show.
It's going well there, Aaron. Thank you. Excited to break down the Season 8 draft. It is war. And like you said, it's exciting to look into these mid-range teams, factions that, we're going to see what moves that they thought they needed to make to get better and not worse. So some made some interesting moves. So let's see what they did.
Absolutely. I would say the most interesting one is in today's video. So I'm happy to have you here. I'll bring you back in just a second. And the second person joining us today is the first time I get to say this, returning guest. He was with us last week when I got to say he was a potential draftee. And now I get to say a player for the Quirky Mercs joins us on the show, Mr. Jesse Swift. Gracious enough to come back. Jesse, how are you doing, man?
Hello there.
Hello, indeed. How's it going, man? Welcome to the show. First Schmoedown competitor. You get that honor too.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. If I'm the first person officially in the league on SchmoeTalks, so that's awesome. Let's make it a habit.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming back, man. Obviously, we're going to be talking about your faction, but we're going to be getting into
what
others
else is there
as
to
well.
talk about?
I mean, we can do the whole episode on yours if you tell me. I'll just send you my PayPal on the side. But
that's right.
We're gonna get into some other
exclusive messenger things that we've had going on. Little deets.
All the inside secrets, and then he'll get dropped the moment this airs. That's how it's gonna work.
Oh, is this going live?
Not yet. You got 2 more days.
Just edit it out. Give me the money and edit it out. It's fine.
Perfect. All right. Kevin's the editor, so he'll take care of that part.
Hello, Kevin.
There you go.
There you go, guys. So, like with our first part, we have 3 factions to break down today. We're first going to lay out the factions, and then each of us are going to kind of go around and get into our opinions and get into kind of the thought and discussion on it. And then this is SchmoeTalks, so I'm not going to be doing the traditional 5-question format we introduced in episode 1. Again, instead, this time we'll be focusing on questions I've come up with that are related to each of the factions and the way they handled their draft. So let's go ahead and get into the first one. And again, we're doing this in draft pick order, so it just kind of works that the guest we have is on our first faction today. But we'll go ahead and get into the Quirky Mercs. There is their 12-person lineup with all those bright smiling faces.
Man, look at the personalities there. And then just barely, but soon-to-be celebrity Goose made it into my shot there, so that's exciting.
Very much so. So to break down all the names on this team, the Mercs, as we did in our first episode, it's broken up into 3 sections: players returning to the team, experienced players joining, and rookies. Coy Jandrew brought back 6 players from his 10-person roster last season: William Bibiani, Brendan Meyer, Kevin Smith, Perry Nemiroff, Greg Alba, and John Humphrey. He brought in 2 players who were on previous factions last year, Andrew DeMolanta and Sabrina Ramirez, both of whom move over from the Exchange to join the Mercs. And 4 rookies join this roster of Mercs: Eric Whiteley, Mr. Jesse Swift, Beth May, and Josh Horowitz. Certainly some interesting names, especially in Horowitz in terms of their internet presence joining.
Yeah. He's a gift machine when it comes to when you look up like Marvel interviews and stuff, you just see him all across the board.
That's true. Marvel's good at producing those, and he's good at being in them. So it only makes sense since someone's here. Jesse, you are one of the 12 names I got to mention on that faction. What are your thoughts, man, about the faction you're joining up with?
Holy smokes! Like, I just want to rewind slightly back to Frank Janis's like top 80 draft board list that he made. I was number 58 on that. Stoked to be on the list, stoked to be like 15 ahead of Chris Jericho, right? So I was like, cool, maybe this is a good sign that like I might make it. Third round, are you shitting me? I was I don't know if you guys saw my reaction. I apologized on the last show that I was on. I was like, if you guys watched, I'm sorry for your eardrums if you had headphones on because I lost my shit. And I was really excited. Going into the rest of the team, we have such a wealth of knowledge in our first three. We have Kevin Smith has been around the biz for a long time. I don't know how often he's going to be accessible to us, but I will take that rare opportunity when available. And just both sides of Shazam, the Bibs and Brendan Meyer, the kid. The face of the Schmoedown, which there's not a lot of contestants for that anymore. I think the Quirky Mercs, I think we are the last of a dying breed, so much so that we have stolen some heels from some other teams with Demolanta and Sabrina, so that's exciting. I'm very excited to have Eric from Blind Wave. I've been watching Blind Wave for a while. He's a great personality. He knows his Star Wars. We're going to see how much Intergeekdom stuff he knows in general. The Real Rejects, again, watch them for a long time. Those guys do their studying before and after. They do trailer reviews. They are steeped in this bubble of pop culture. And I think that they've made themselves sponges, and they get better every year. I think you'd be hard pressed to argue that no matter how you feel about their performances overall, they do get better consistently. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that this year is no exception. Beth May, fantastic audition tapes. If you guys saw them on the Facebook page, I don't even know how to describe what she was doing, but it was almost like she was disarming people by like not showing like her true intelligence level or like fandom level. And I could see through it, but it was seeing through it that made it so entertaining and so fun. And I am beyond stoked to be on a team with her. Who am I missing? Demolanta. We have 2 Star Wars competitors, and so that's exciting. Eric, again, like I was saying earlier, one of the enigmas of the league. We'll see if he can catch some people off guard. I think that's our advantage. And Andrew's a proven commodity there. And Josh Horowitz. All I know is he does a lot of interviews, so hopefully he's learned something from doing those. And I think he's a lot of fun. Watching him talk with people and stuff, I think he's got a great personality. I think he'll fit in wonderfully with the Quirky Mercs. And then there's this guy. He's
and I was going to say before I go to Kevin, I believe Horowitz as well is also a film critic.
Right. Yeah. He writes articles and stuff as well. Yeah.
So he falls into that category of, how he performs is one thing, but kind of like when McWeemy and Bibbs first entered, of like that's their longstanding experience is the film criticism side of things. So that just makes you assume, okay, well, I've probably seen most of everything to a certain extent, because that's your job. You get paid to watch everything, both the good and the bad, whereas me, I watch shit like Arctic Dogs for free. So Kevin, I'll go to you, man. What are your thoughts and opinions on this roster as the outside opinion here?
The outside opinion for sure. Congratulations first off to Jesse. I think you'll do awesome, man. The standout to me is definitely Demolanta. I think that was a great move. The guy is a stud, and he's already got the Star Wars belt. The championship
title shot.
Title shot. Yeah. So that puts you in an awesome position as far as the faction. And then iron sharpens iron. So you put him with Eric and have them study together. So I think that's great. But Perry she got so much better last year, and it was just like exciting to watch her play and get better. So I think she can only go up from here. Beth, I was really excited to see her join TMG. I was hoping we could like squeeze in and get her a match before she got drafted. I knew she was going to get drafted. Unfortunately, we didn't get to. But it's all good. Maybe we can get her on as a co-host or something. But yeah, Alba's awesome. Sabrina's awesome, and I'm looking forward to seeing these other rookies.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Coy overall, I think he did a great job with the draft.
It's a real mixed bag, but in a good way.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. One of the things that I found very impressive is when you look at it statistically, and I say statistically, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but in terms of when we're looking at previous player performance, at least on the outset, it seems like Winston and Coy were the two who had players who played previously that really strove and showed improvement under them. You know, I would say Perry, Craig, and John all played very well this year when they played, including Greg and John both stepping into a division it did not seem like they intended to. And even Brendan and Bibbs did better this year, and they were already playing on a high level. You could see they were coming together even more. I will say one of the big improvements I think Coy made was, and I think it was a bit of a mistake last year, he didn't put a lot of focus into IG and Star Wars, or specifically with IG, all the eggs got put in the one basket of Mara Knopic, and unfortunately, due to health, that just never worked out. So, you know, you had 2 seats in a Geekdom tournament, and you're putting in 2 guys who know about Geek, but clearly did not intend to ever play in there. And the fact that they both got no, they didn't both get wins. Greg got a win. And John played well in his match. He didn't play badly. No, did he win? I thought he beat Janine, right? I thought he beat her. Yeah.
No, I think he lost to Janine. I could be wrong.
No, he beat her. He beat her. He did.
Okay.
So yeah, they both went 1-1. There you go. That's how you know he researched some things well and not the rest. No, so they both played well, and even in their losses, like as a team, they went 1-1, but they played well in both matches. It wasn't like at any point they were ever out for the count. And that's great improvement. But what I like here is he's got people. Obviously, he's, you know, brought in and I forget who did he enter in the Star Wars tournament. I forget offhand who he had last year that he entered. Obviously not the same person.
No.
Was Molly his? No, Molly was with Sam.
Yeah.
Sorry for the dead air, folks. This is a real bad moment.
Yeah,
someone in the comments is going crazy. Like, how do you not remember this?
I know, right? Did he enter anyone? No.
No, he had to have.
He did.
Clearly, it wasn't. It was someone who unfortunately lost early on because it's not sticking in our minds. And that's my point, is his faultings and where it helped him finish came as a result of not putting enough emphasis on those 2 leagues, and just, again, the way the season shaped out, they ended up becoming super important to factions, you know? And so I think the fact that he learned from that mistake, went out and got Andrew with the title shot. How Andrew fell that far amazes me, but it was good for him that he did.
Did he put Scrimshaw in? I think maybe
that was it. Scrimshaw, who lost to Dimolanta. Mm-hmm. So he brought Dimolanta in. He brought Eric Whiteley in. Jesse obviously is going in as specialized IG. He didn't have a lot of that last year, so he's got that. Now remind me offhand, is Beth or Josh going in specialized IG?
I'm pretty sure Beth is going singles, maybe teams, but I think that specifically singles.
Okay. So, but even then, even if you're the only IG player, we saw that John and Greg have the promise. And so putting someone like you on that team could help them sharpen up
Well, I will say this. I think Eric is considering IG.
as well. Okay. So that's more
Top of
prospects.
Star Wars. Yeah.
That's more prospects than he had last year.
I think we have some people, or was I guess me, maybe the rejects that are definitely gonna take a crack at IG, and then I think there are going to be some discussions had after we do some mock matches and some study sessions, and then maybe some more opportunities will arise. Maybe we find out I want to do teams. It's kind of up in the air. I think everyone went in with their like de facto, like this is why I'm in the Schmoedown. And then maybe through some training, we're like, I could probably hang over here if we're trying to rack up more points.
Sure.
True. So we'll go ahead and we have our fourth person joining us on the show. Coming in, Mr. Ryan Payne joins us. Before we go ahead and move on, Ryan, we're talking about the Mercs. If you just want to give your quick rundown on what you thought about their time at the draft.
Muted.
You are not coming through with audio.
Of course. First, my internet doesn't want to work with me, and now my audio doesn't want to work with me. That's a great start.
Hey, you're doing good. We just spent 2 minutes frozen on who you entered in the Star Wars tournament last year, so it's all right. We're good.
That's what post for.
Took us a minute.
No, it's fine. No, look, I was just saying Coy did a very good job with his selection of who he wanted for the draft. I mean, the free agency, many people were kind of curious why he wanted to keep Kevin Smith, but it's obvious from last year that Kevin Smith did a very good job for himself in his singles matches, beating Jericho going to sudden death and beating Brett Sheridan. So it made sense for Coy to keep Kevin Smith. And looking at his selection of the draft, honestly, he did a great job having a great balance of keeping some veterans like Andrew Dimolanta, keeping Perry Nemiroff, even getting some great rookies. I mean, just like with Jesse Swift here, getting Beth May, Josh Horowitz, even with Eric Whiteley of Blind Wave. And then, of course, if you've seen from his supplemental draft that happened, he's able to, once again, keep a team that many people thought was going to get broken up in the Real Rejects. So Coy really was playing this very smartly. And I love the fact that at the end of the 7th round, he said he was able to keep a tradition like he did last year by picking Greg Alba last once again.
And I was going to say, I saw that note, and I believe last year he did actually the exact same thing where he kept Greg Alba at the last round of the draft, and then Humphreys was the last person he picked up outside of the televised draft, which is interesting. Might as well do it if you can do it.
It's a great mixture of luck. And also, I mean, it's incredible luck, though. Like, people really did overlook Greg and John. And last year, they did a great run in IG. I mean, so you'd be crazy not to look at these two men.
So my first and kind of really the biggest question in relation to Coy is everybody thought Coy's, 3 he was going to retain seemed pretty obvious in that it was Bibbs, Brendan, and Mara. And then obviously Mara did not end up staying. It was Kevin Smith instead. So my question to you guys is, now that we have the full context of the draft and we've seen everything he was able to do, and I'll go ahead and start with Kevin on this and we'll go around. Do you still believe that it was a mistake for him not to try harder to hold on to Mara? Because obviously, again, and Jesse, if you have learned anything, you do not have to feel free to say it, but we don't know the ins and outs of how those discussions went. All we know is that she did not stay there for one reason or another. So what are your guys' thoughts on it, Kevin?
I personally think that he actually made a really good decision because he has the solid team locked up. I think Kevin Smith is a really good draw, but we've learned that he can actually play the game. He knows his stuff. He can, hone his skills as far as the JTEs and all that kind of stuff. But he picked up Dimolanta. He's got, some, what we'll call them like middling IG players. But I think when you put all these guys together, including Jesse, like I said, iron sharpens iron, and, one of them or maybe two of them can rise above. And then you find yourself with a top tier IG player out of that mix. So I think he played it perfectly, and that I see the Mercs going definitely up. I see them advancing over last year.
Absolutely. Jesse, however you feel comfortable answering it. I know there's things at stake.
I got insight in some places and not in others. This isn't one that I particularly know any more than you guys do on. And I wonder if it has something to do with Mara. I'm sure Mara was very vocal about how she wanted to come back into the tournament, and she ended up on the exchange, correct?
No, she's with the dungeon.
She's with the dungeon.
Yeah.
Oh, she's with the dungeon. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that would have meant the exchange got somebody people know.
That's right. I knew that.
We'll get to them in a second. But.
Yeah. Well, the dungeon's a little. They play a little Healy sometimes, and then you got Merle on there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Merle's revenge path. I think the dungeon, in a nutshell, is going to be like on the path of revenge across the board, and I don't know what Mara might be clinging on to, what she might be angry about, but I think we might get to see some different character work and a new side of Ms. Canopic, and maybe that has something to do with it. We don't know all the different conversations that were made, and maybe out of those conversations, Koi just had the least, appealing one, and they decided to split ways, or she didn't get prioritized, which, I mean, when you have a championship match lined up, I don't know why you wouldn't. I don't have any great insight for you guys. I'm sorry.
No. So then, Ryan, I'll go to you. What are your thoughts?
I get looking at Mara. She was, of course, she has herself an Inner Geekdom title shot, and which is going to happen this year. But even last year, it's really difficult to say. I mean, like you, Jesse, I don't have insight as well, but from what I can gather, I'm guessing Koi felt that. I'm pretty sure Koi did was in talks with Mara. Wanted to at least get a range with her, seeing what her schedule is going to be like. Because of course, last year when he got Mara, we were all very excited to see her play again. But then, of course, it wasn't. Even though it was private, but she did share to Christian a few of the others. One of the reasons why she just couldn't be able to play was mainly for some bit of health reasons. But then, of course, the big event of the pandemic happened, so she just couldn't play either. But pushing that aside, I still think that Mara, if Koi did retain Mara or drafted her, she still would have been a great pick for Koi to keep. But I'm seeing with Koi, I think like what last year has shown us is that with rookies like Adam Collins, Marisol McKee, I think it's time managers want to start really building factions, not just with seasoned established players, but with rookies. And seeing how the Star Wars tournament and the IG tournament took the whole Schmo by storm, I think these managers really want to start looking at what these rookies are capable of, if these rookies can walk the walk other than talk the talk. And like I said, I mean he's got a great selection here, and of course, being able to retain Greg and John, he doesn't need to worry too much on, let's say, whenever Chris gets teams back up, he has himself 2 established teams already with Shazam and the Real Rejects. Mm-hmm. He also got Sabrina Ramirez, who, even though she didn't get the opportunity to show what she can do in the singles tournament, she might have more to offer to the Mercs than what she could have offered to the exchange. If
she's our spy on the inside.
Yeah. I mean, if Gucci had any sense of mind to use her for more than just singles, maybe Koi can see her as a great teams player. Or heck, she could have a secret weapon and some IG knowledge for study sessions. I mean, Jesse, you already got like a great faction with you. And I don't want to, of course, I can't poke the bear and see what these training sessions or these means or these faction means are going to be like. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be an incredible a year for you guys.
Thank you. I do want to add that something that I wanted to bring up earlier is I'm looking at a lot of the teams, and they have the talent, they have the skill. There's some benefits having some of the unknowns, but I'm looking at my faction, and even those of us that haven't had the chance to really meet and maybe just had some brief Twitter interactions, I'm telling you right now, this is going to be a close-knit team. Like, we are all like of a people, like this is my group. These are the people that, like, if they were over around here, these would be my buddies. These would be people I would hang out with intentionally, not coworkers, not just job friends. This is my group, and I'm happy to be a part of it. And that started with Koi. Back when I used to watch Marvel movie news and stuff, I was like, man, I want to hang out with this guy. Like, he's one of my favorite people. And I said on my other shows, I don't know if this was one of them, but I talked about, I had interest in swag and the dungeon, but I was like, I'll tell you right now, no matter what happens, I think the most fun in any faction I would have would be the Quirky Mercs. And so I think I'm in for a very fun year. And I think if I can help elevate like the study sessions and help just universally everyone that is good get better and not be fifth in the faction standings, anything's an improvement.
Yeah. So I was going to say one last kind of question, and this can just be a quick go around so we can move on. Obviously, Koi has a faction in which he's got somebody with an immediate title shot, and Mr. Andrew DiMolanta. So I'll go ahead and go around just very quick, kind of a yes or no thing. I'll start with Kevin here. Do you think Andrew DiMolanta can beat Alex Damon for that Star Wars title?
I think so. I think he had the capability last year, and I think he has a bit of a chip on his shoulder. So yeah, I think he's gonna be ready.
Jesse, do you have the balls to say no?
I'm not going to say no, but it's not because I don't have the balls to. I think that, congrats to Chandru, but I think it's hard to retain a belt when you have to sit on it. And I know that there's study sessions, and I know that Star Wars is like, Damon's life. It's what he bleeds Star Wars. Mm-hmm. But more so than any other year, I think the training for the Star Wars division is going to be rigorous. It's going to be brutal because Damon is not your only target. You have to fight the Dragon Con players. You have all these rookies coming in that are Star Wars specific. Luckily, we have Eric, and Eric will help build on Andrew and vice versa. So we'll just get two incredible Star Wars players. I think that he has all the shot in the world, but wow, I lose my voice there for a second. You got to know that when you get two talented people together, it's any given day, and it's all about the spin of the wheel, which questions get asked. I think there's a lot of matches that if you rewound and play it just a little differently, you get a different victor. So a lot of it's skill, some of it's luck, and I think that's kind of what it's going to come down to is who gets the more comfortable situation going into that fight.
All right, and then Ryan, before we move on, same question.
It's really difficult. But judging on just for this upcoming season, I think Andrew really has. I think he's got a lot of cards. I think he has the advantage because if he's gonna, even though he came very close in the tournament, but I don't think he's been sleeping on anything. Sure, he may have that chip on his shoulder, but we saw from season 7, when he had lost to Laura Kelly, that chip on his shoulder really made him more focused. And we saw in his matches against Scrimshaw and Molly Damon, and even against Ace, even though he lost down to the word. But still, it motivates him. But I'm pretty sure that with Koi, he has a better manager and because Gucci, he did a good job with him. But still, I don't think Gucci is just that aware of how serious Andrew was on Star Wars. So I think with Koi in his corner, Koi is going to be that person to really keep Andrew not only focused on the trivia, but to make sure Andrew really doesn't lose himself if he challenges something, if he misses a word or misses a question by one word or one letter. Koi's going to be that manager to keep him focused. And also, DiMolanta has a lot of game tape to say now on Damon, especially after watching his match against Ace Cabrera. He also saw that Damon himself nearly lost his head in the speed round when he had missed how many times Han Solo has been in the Star Wars universe. Andrew DiMolanta, even though he's going to focus himself on characters, like the EV9D9, he's also going to be paying attention to character appearances, also actor names, so he's not going to get thrown off by a question like Bob Anderson again. And he's also going to be paying attention to credits, especially of Star Wars movies. So Solo's not going to throw him off. Neither will, Rogue One didn't have any, so he's going to be okay. So Andrew DiMolata's going to have all his bases covered when he goes up against Damon. So I'm expecting a very close game between those two. And I do think that Demolanta has the great opportunity to win if Damon throws himself off in a speed round type of situation.
Yeah, just to put it quickly, I think out of anybody right now, Demolanta has the best opportunity to beat Damon. I think he's got the best reason to be driven, and I think out of those who are driven, I actually do think he is the better performer of them. Um, it's hard to bet against Alex at this point. It's very hard to to bet against him. But I think if anyone can do it, it's Demolanta, and even if that match does become the three-way, I think whoever you put Molly or Laura in there, I still think it comes down between Alex and Andrew. I don't think any of the other two will hold up as well. So with that being said, though, obviously, Jesse, the Mercs are something you're going to be looking out for. We'll be wishing you all the success going into the season. Now let's go ahead and move on to a team that really got their shit together this year in the last stock exchange. And I'm making jokes, but let's go ahead and get into it. I'm cracking jokes, but the Finstock Exchange, again, bringing in all the list of players they kept over from last season, only two, Mr. John Roca and Craig Gagne, the Barbarian. Two players who have previous playing experience that are new to the faction, JTE and Taylor Robinson, the last player they picked up, who has one Intergeekdom match under her belt. And then a never-ending list of rookies, Griffin Newman, Evan Bushcar, Mark Haas, Ty Lieberman, Brother Lomas, Ranger Rick Radis, Jeffrey Kahn, I believe, and Kim Taylor Foster. So just a lot of names there. I'll go ahead and get started on this one before I start passing it around. Look, obviously, Craig's a friend of the show. He's been on After Dark numerous times. I got nothing but love for Craig. I'd love to have him on this show. And I certainly believe on a level between him and the experience that Roca brings. And I know Craig and JTE have developed a friendship, so I'm sure whatever input JTE puts in, they're not idiots. Like, I'm sure everything they did was planned to some level. And I think they have a game plan going in. It'll just be interesting to see where it cuts down to. But right now, it's really hard to show confidence in this faction because it's a long list of names of people who have no Schmoedown experience and next to no fan league experience. So it's just, where do you know them from? And then Taylor Robinson, who I'm sure is better than a debut match shows because she was one of the first fans to get brought into the Schmoedown, but she's one match in what is one of the most unique matches of all time, in which Jared Habon ended up knocking out all four competitors. And it's just, I believe she was the first or second of the four to go. So it's just an
I think she was second. She was second in that match.
I think,
Jared
she did better than the rest. Okay, then I
was
confused.
only one of the four to get to the third round. Yeah.
Okay, so I confused it backwards. Excuse me. So
it was a rough match.
It's a little better looking, but still. So yeah, again, nothing but love for the guys at the head. I'm sure they have a game plan going into this. This feels very Moneyball. Like they come up with some plan and they're hoping it works. It's just very hard to show confidence in a team that is, 7 unknowns, a priest, and whatever Ranger Rick Radis is. Now, on the other hand, if they mess up, then they have someone to cleanse them of their sins. So, they'll be all right, I guess. But all right, so who wants to go first on this one? What do we make of this?
I think it's very interesting. Look, despite what people may feel about how Gucci had gone with this, he is getting people talking, though. I mean, of course, everyone likes to do the whole who won the draft in this situation. I don't like that kind of talk. To me, it's just more of how the managers did. And Gucci, despite him talking about a dossier that people are now making fun of, Gucci, and it seems from Barbarian helping him, and also I'm pretty sure when Roca starts getting involved, they do, instead of like last season when Gucci had himself a heavy stack of veterans on his team out of, Roca, Riley, Bateman, and Dan. I mean, even then it was just like Gucci barely had any rookies on his team outside of Barbarian. But I think now he really wants to start building. He wants to start bringing in people who are like look, it's okay. This is going to be repeated a lot, but these rookies, just by family experience, or if they're YouTube personalities, or if yourself, Jesse, who are fans of the Schmoedown, you guys are damn hungry to play. So that's never going to, there's endless waves of that. I think Gucci, he just wanted to find people who are going to be, in a way, like himself, a bit like an enigma. So you just can't really figure out what they are going to do. I mean, to me, it's kind of interesting, the ones he has. Of course, I don't know much about the ones he has. Like, Rick, I mean, of course, we know Rick Reyes because he's been on a few after talks. I mean, we know Brother Lomas because of the Facebook videos he has shared. But I'm really curious to see how Ty Lieberman, Mark Haas, and Evan Busker are going to come out. Griffin Newman, I'm aware of because he's another one of those celebrities that got brought into the Schmoedown. So Gucci does at least have some really star quality power that's going to bring.
Is he a celebrity?
Griffin he's a movie star. Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, he was in the Amazon TV series The Tick. He played Arthur, and he's been in a few films.
He was in Draft Day.
Yes,
he was in Draft Day as well.
Yeah, he was the assistant to Kevin Costner. The Draft Day movie that people were using in memes that they didn't realize that it's the exact movie star that Finstock had drafted in. So Finstock does have some smarts on him. So I mean, it is correct. He is not an idiot, but everyone so far is just overlooking him. And then if you see the other two picks he picked up later, John Flickinger, who is a YouTube personality, he reviews movies, and Chris Van Vliet, he is a wrestling
that's the dungeon. Those were the dungeon.
Oh, I have them flipped over. My bad. I have them flipped over. Because of my notes, I accidentally. My God, I gotta change that on my notes. But still, then Kim Taylor Foster. I saw from the draft she is an IG player. From what I saw, she was assigned to. So Gucci is not overlooking certain areas, and of course, with Taylor coming back, she does have that one Schmoedown experience, so she is familiar with the format. Oh my God, I can't believe I messed up in my notes. I mean, I really have written down here.
So yeah,
chicken scratch. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the gold leader pick is an interesting one to go ahead and cement a Star Wars player. We don't know how good he'll be, but I mean, as far as like his knowledge at Dragon Con and stuff is supposed to be pretty up there. So I think that was a good pick. I don't know like about the Brother Lomas and the Rick Radis picks. This is definitely going to be a wait and see kind of deal, but I feel like maybe the Griffin Newman might have been a stretch that early with all the names that were still on the board. But we all could be sitting there with our foot in our mouths at the end of the year, like, this might have been the genius. Barbarian might be the mad genius behind the whole thing at the end of the year. So who knows? But yeah, it could be a rocky year for the exchange.
All right, and then Jesse, any thoughts on it?
A few. First, I want to pose a question to you guys. How, if at all, different do you think that this faction will look like coming 6 months down the road when we get some drop-offs, some people going back to the draft list, maybe seeing if they can pluck anything from the first class league because it's so many unknown commodities. And there's some people, a lot of people are speculating about Brother Loomis, because he hasn't been on any after shows. Nobody's seen any tape of him. He's been kept really under wraps, and we know from listening to Stereo and stuff that's something that Christian did intentionally. But so we have nothing to go off of. Some of these guys we can either base around their careers, Schmoedown appearances in the past, or just talking to some of the after shows. Like I know the Rager comes from he's a friend of the Spin from the Real podcast, and I talk to those guys quite a bit, and so I know that he has a lot of skill and ability, and I think that he's going to do well. His character work is obviously one of the first things that got him noticed.
Yeah, so he's on with character work.
I'm looking forward to it. Is there a faction more appropriate for the Rager to be on than the Finstock Exchange? Absolutely not. So that's one of the picks I was really excited about.
I was going to say, I think it does makes a lot of sense, actually, that the two people specifically where Christian was like, you can keep the gimmick you came up with, both ended up with the guy whose gimmick is wearing a funny mask. Like, it just all sort of lines up, you know?
Well, I think one thing I will say about Brother Lomas is I think it is kind of a smart thing Christian did by not having him appear on after shows or not really having seen any game tape on him. Because, look, I think despite the fact that so many of the rookies did a great job, you taking advantage of the platform they were given with the draft, with the audition, and being on the draft list, I think the fact that Brother Lomas, Christian immediately grabbed to him, the mystery of him is what's going to make people intrigued. I mean, who knows? Maybe it doesn't go off well in his first match, but let's not forget, we got until March. We have until March until the show starts, and depending on when Christian wants to start recording matches, they all have so much time to rewatch SchmoeDown matches, to be meeting with managers, and also to me, I think one of the aces of the Finstock Exchange is Roca, because Roca, he is once again going to be. Of course, he's always serious about this, but he's dipping back into the Roca that he used to be of season 3 and 4 of the Dangerous Outlaws. So who knows exactly what kind of mentality Roca is going to give all of the players there when it comes with studying, when it comes with getting questions right, when it comes to understanding the game of the SchmoeDown, how to use your challenges, how to use your JTEs, how to really initialize those 15 seconds after that question is being asked, rather if you're going to waste it all stuck in your head or if you're really going to be calm in the moment, maintain yourself well under the pressure of trying to get the answer, or, try to be psychological with your opponent. Like, Roca is going to give a wealth of experience to these rookies. I think one of the reasons why Gucci and Barbarian had that dossier for a reason was to understand, are these the right picks for them? And yeah, who knows, 5 months, 6 months down the road, Jesse, once we do these free agency pickups again, will Gucci drop a few depending on if they have learned anything? It's the biggest mystery, but from right now, from what I can tell in this draft, Gucci wants young, hungry talent to really build. He's no longer looking at trying to maintain veterans. He wants to get egos out the way.
Let me say this.
Yes, go ahead, Jesse.
Roca, who better to shape the youth of this generation than a man who was around before the first silent film? Like, if anyone's going to help polish up these singles players, it's going to be the guy that has seen every film because he's been alive for all of them. And unless his memory starts going out on him, which in his old age is highly possible.
He's already as old as he is. I don't think his memory will fade. I was gonna say, I'll let Jesse finish up your point, and then I had one more question out of curiosity, and then we can move on. So go ahead, Jesse, finish up.
I was going to ask if you guys, because a lot of these guys, I don't have too much to say outside of Rager and maybe Brother Lamas, but Jeffrey Kahn, I watched his reaction, and it was kind of precious, but it was also the most subdued reaction I saw out of anybody. I saw when he got his pick, like he was watching intently, he's like, yes. And that was it. I was like, whoa. I was like, meanwhile, I'm like blowing out eardrums and like almost flipping my chair over.
Maybe some people react differently to when they were drafted. Some people have said that was very rehearsed of Jeffrey Kahn's, but to me, it was just kind of, if this is going to be the character he's coming forward where he's very just like, I don't know, kind of like, let's say he gets a question, what year was Jurassic Park released? And then all of a sudden he's just like this, and then he just goes into like 1993.
That's going to be
his character moving forward to where Gucci's going to do the talking for him, and he just does the
funny. He's just calling like Jeffrey the Synthezoid Khan, and he just like every time he gets an answer, he goes, "Yep."
Exactly. Yeah.
So
no hate, just have a laugh.
I know, but it was funny looking at it. It is funny.
That is funny.
So before we move on, we'll go around again. Just kind of a quick kind of rapid fire thing to end this off. again, not really a lot to say about the rookies. Most of the team, there isn't a question. So I'll ask you guys, specifically Kevin and Ryan, just because I think I asked this question last week when you were here, Jesse. The only three real commodities we have are Roka, Barbarian, and JTE. Out of those three, who's the A team on the squad? What pairing do you see being the A team? I'll go to Kevin first.
I could see Roka and Barbarian really being an 18. Barbarian brings like this new style, new class, I guess you could say, and like we've already talked about, Roka just has that old film knowledge. So I really think they could really put together a good squad.
True. Jesse, any thoughts?
All right, I'll throw something wild at you. You talked about the two people that got to keep their gimmick. If there was ever something to prove, it would be these two guys. And how fun would it be to get someone who deems themselves to be holier than thou, and then the Rager who just seems like real scum of the earth, and just make a whole new odd couple. And I don't know what you would call it, Rager Rock or something, like Ragnarok. I don't know. That's just off the top of my head. But I think their dynamic would, even if they lost their first match, it would be bonkers, and I would be here for it.
That sounds like the setup for a Wild Berries team. Like, they're not going to win very much.
The new Wild Berries.
So, all right. So then, Ryan, your thoughts on the question. Out of those three, who's the A team?
Honestly, it's really difficult to tell. Obviously, with JTE and Roka, they are the heavily experienced members of singles and teams. Both of them having teams championships in their records. I see with me with JTE, he does feel like the more, not hungry, but the more set out to prove, because last year he didn't get to play a lot, and now he really wants. He's really coming back with, obviously not a big chip on his shoulder, but just more of a monkey on his back, to where he didn't get time. He didn't get a chance to play last year. Now he wants to play, and he and Finstock have that long history relationship from their time as a team of Box Office Breakdown to being part of the Lions Den. So to me, it seems like even though JTE, depending on which JT we're going to get, I think at this moment he might be more of the one. To do a good reference, he could be like the Aries of the group, just being there to whisper in everyone's ears while they all do the work. Like
a co-manager, specifically for the team, like a little help support.
Yeah. Even though Roka is dead set on wanting to shape them, JTE could really be the one, like the puppeteer, the one, just the shadow or the devil on your back, the devil on your shoulder, that's going to be like trying to steer you in that direction. So
JTE will be there to whisper sweet nothings and spelling words into their ears.
Yeah.
All right.
JTE.
So with that, we'll go ahead and move. I like hearing my name. Use it. We'll go ahead and move on to the final team we're going to discuss today, and that is the Stars. There's the image. 3 returning players to the Stars. Her 3 keepsakes: Jeff Snyder, Mark Andreyko, Alex Damon. 3 players of previous experience joining in Brandon Hanna, Janine the Machine, and Brittany Young. And 6 rookies joining: Jacoby Bancroft, Felix Moritz, Jack Kennedy, Jeff Lowe, Christina Vassallo, and Zach Burkett join the Stars to make up that team. So let's go ahead and get into it. Again, we'll kind of just go around the horn. Start with Kevin. What are your overall thoughts on this team?
This team is interesting. They already have the champ. The what are they called? The
team champs.
Team champs.
Yeah. The
odd couple.
Snyder. Yeah, the odd couple. Thank you. Snyder and Draco. They have the Star Wars champ. Brandon Hanna was an interesting pick to me, but we'll see where that goes. I think he has a lot of knowledge. He just wants to work on his game as far as behind the scenes stuff. The Zach Burkett pick, I know he's big in Star Wars, so I don't know where they go as far as that with Damon, but I know Damon can help bring him up. I love the Janine pick. I think she can help Jacoby be what he needs to be in IG. But I love the idea of Jacoby and maybe Felix being a team, or even Jacoby and Christina being a team. And I love Brittany Young. I think she's awesome too. So this team is a lot of faces too. I think kind of like the Mercs, but a lot of young people, but they got a lot of good, a lot of good steady people at the top to keep them in line. And Roxy's a great manager. So
absolutely.
If
Jesse,
anyone's willing to go to fisticuffs for you, it's probably Roxy.
yeah, absolutely.
Sure about that.
I'm just looking at this, and I think this is one of the most eclectic, interesting lineups. One that deems like the most analysis and like doing some background research and stuff. But a little bit kind of like what Kevin was posing is it's a blend of heels and faces, which I think kind of balances out and makes this kind of your anti-hero faction. Like the I'm not gonna say that the Deadpool of the league because that's us, obviously, but I think that you are going to get a unpredictable like just dichotomy between the players, and I think that serves to be very interesting. With Jeff Snyder, you never know what you're going to get. She's obviously, you got 3 champions sitting right there. There's several people on here that I don't know a whole lot about, other than just Star Wars knowledge and things like that. But it looks like she's definitely determined on, no matter what, keeping the Star Wars belt with the stars, and I have to commend her for that, because obviously you want to hang on to your belts, and Jeff and Mark obviously have a good chance to maintain their belt as well. So I think she's set up for success. Got a couple rookies in there, and I think she played it. I don't want to use the word safe, but I think she came in there with some confidence and made some choices that are we'll say educated choices. And so she did some good research. She did some good background. She reached out to the people that she deemed worth reaching out to, and solid faction.
Yeah, absolutely. Then Ryan, initial thoughts on it.
Oh man, I feel as if with this faction, I really wanted to talk about them mainly. I mean, of course, I'm going to come off and say this at first. I'm a big fan of Roxy Striar. I follow her on most of her media, most of her social media. I follow her show, her YouTube show. And just yesterday, I just wanted after she did talk about her decisions on picking these players on the Stereo app and on her show most recently. So she really went into real in-depth knowledge about this. And just as you said, yeah, when it came to Star Wars, of course, retaining Damon was the smart pick. But at the same time, she got 3 players who are listed on the Draft HQ within the Star Wars division out of Zach Busker, Ken Jack, and Jeff Lowe. So regardless if Damon is able to retain the belt or not, Roxy is dead set on making sure when it comes to Star Wars, she's not only focused on keeping belts, but she has her eye on racking up points. And of course, with the prize at the end of this faction, at the end of the spectacular, being a pool of a faction title, and I don't know how big this pot is going to be, but Roxy is dead set on focusing on gaining points, because last year she couldn't be able to make use of her entire roster, and to where Damon, Snyder, and Draco were pretty much the heavies in her team. Damon was key on her maintaining points to stay relevant within the chase to the belt. Chase to the faction championship. And I'm pretty sure Damon, looking to maybe continue to play in IG, she's gonna once again put all her money on Damon, and also having some backup within Janine the Machine, who is also a triple player. Like she's really not kidding around here. She got herself. She has a lot of people on her team who can play in 2 separate divisions, 3 depending if the need arises. So Roxy has developed a huge trade, a deadly team here, and I will get to talking about picking 2 of the family for Jacoby and Christina soon. But focusing on what she got so far, I don't know much about Zach Busker, but the fact that she picks Brandon Hanna first still boggles my mind. But she explained in very details why she picked Hanna. She has a great relationship with him. And I'm pretty sure with Brandon Hanna, he still has that high percentage accuracy in IG. And hopefully with Roxy as a manager, we're going to get less of a Brandon Hanna focusing on pissing people off, and a Brandon Hanna focusing on playing the trivia. But Felix Moret is really an interesting pick to me. That's, of course, someone I literally know nothing about. Same with Jack and Lowe. These are people I know nothing about. Of course, with doing more research about them, maybe seeing if we're going to get a sneak peek on their, if we see them on any after shows, maybe we'll get an idea on what they're going to be like personality-wise going in. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, we're getting Brittany Young. I mean, she couldn't get Jericho because of Kaiser, so what happened? She gets Brittany Young, and if we all know the tweet that Jericho had sent out, Roxy has all the cards. She has all the cards. If Kaiser at least wants to, if Kaiser can't get Jericho to play, he has to offer Roxy something in return for Jericho. Because just like last year when Roxy did a draft, she made a trade to get an extra 3rd round pick at the time from Robert Meyer Burnett, who was manager of the Drews, and she used it very well by getting Janine in that 3rd round, getting 2 picks by getting Janine and Jacoby Bancroft. So Roxy shows she's not only thinking ahead, she's also playing ahead of the game. She is playing 3D chess. She's playing on a different level than the managers are playing when it came with getting the players.
All right, so before we move on, just to cut in, we do have to lose one of our panel just a little early, but I want to say thank you, Mr. Jesse Swift, for joining us today.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for being here. The analysis was interesting, and once again, man, I'll still reach out to you. We'll definitely have you back on for your own actual full-on interview episode if you'll have us. And thank you for coming on. Best of luck with the Mercs, man.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it and hope to see you guys here soon.
Absolutely.
Have a good one.
All right. So we'll go ahead and keep going on with the stars for a little bit before we wrap up. So my first question to you guys, which is the first thing that hit me, is Roxy's 3 experienced players that she drafted. Now, one of the things I do have to commend her on is pulling people who potentially have experience, like real experience. Obviously, there was the Fan League 4 that was happening. She has 2 of those. She's pulled Zach Burkett, which I believe is one of the 3 Dragon Con players that people were talking about as a potential threat. But I want to talk about those mid 3, Brandon Hanna, Janine the Machine, and Brittany Young. 3 players who, and maybe I have a different take than others, but despite even Brandon's high accuracy rate, there are 3 players who have failed to consistently pull in wins in their time in the Schmoedown. And that's maybe a little rough on Brittany. She is 1-1, but still. There are 3 players who have consistently failed to pull in wins. And I mean this especially in Janine's case. One of my criticisms of Roxy last year was I thought she only ended up in the place she ended up in because a large majority of her points came from Schneider and Draco and Damon, who were players that, not that she didn't help them in any sort of way, but their greatness of the game and their master of the game was already there since she took over as their manager. Yeah. That's not to say she hasn't helped them in small ways. And I certainly think with Snyder, she's a great piece in keeping his head in the game. But like for Damon, for example, I think everything he did in terms of his success in both IG and Star Wars was stuff that came from him. I don't know. It doesn't seem that there was, in terms of the natural need of aid of a manager, except just having someone there in the match to keep him there, right? Which he didn't have before. So my question to you is, I think that's a real risky middle 3 because the rest of Roxy's faction was very obsolete. I mentioned last week with Amaru and Jesse, she had somebody like Jim Vejvoda, who everyone looked at as the guy who, if he just got the hang of the game, he could be brilliant. And, everyone thought he could really pull it off. He played 3 matches in 3 divisions and lost all 3 of them. And sure, there was a little bit of improvement each time, a little bit, but not enough to ever pull off the win. And every time he'd improve somewhere, he was making a mistake elsewhere. I believe it was his singles match where, he felt he had all the other pieces of the rules down and then lost because he went perfect in round 2 on multiple choice because he kept saying, for the safety, and that loses you matches.
Yeah. And so I can really understand where that comes from with Vejvoda. Look, I will say he's not playing. I was going to pose my I don't want to go into Vejvoda because he's not playing this year, obviously. But my question to you guys is,
how confident are you in those mid three? Because personally, from the outset, I'm not confident in her ability to grow players. I think she supports players really well, and she's a good support system, and she clearly very much cares about her players. But the players who got her points last year, being those three and Stacey Howard, I don't think had anything to do with anything that Roxy did on the side. And so it makes me wonder if going with those three inconsistent players as her extra experienced players could be a bad risk taking.
Could be, but I think the Brittany Young pick is smart because I think they're going to try to get as many female, female competitors matches as possible. So the potential for points is there with her. But Damon has talked about trying to go inner geekdom, I know. So bringing in Hannah, her relationship with Hannah, knowing his knowledge in inner geekdom, that may have some kind of thing there where he's, kind of coaching up some of Damon's weaknesses in IG. Maybe there's something there. And then maybe kind of grooming Burkett to be the new Star Wars guy. Same way with Janine, and Jacoby could be, he could go IG or singles or even teams. So he's kind of a 3-tool player. So I don't think it's as out there as it appears on the outside, but some of them do seem a reach. I agree with you from that perspective.
I do understand your trepidation when it comes with Janine and Brandon Hannah, and of course with your example of Vejvoda, you do make up a solid point. Personally, I'm just going to say, give him a quick 2 cents on Vejvoda. Vejvoda is just one of those guys. Yeah, if he had gotten more time to get a handle of the game, he would have been great. I think his performances show that he has got a handle of it, especially in the teams match he had with Jared Habon against Rogue 2. He was able to at least get some redemption for everyone making fun of him for giving Rogue biopics, even though if people had followed Vejvoda on IGN, he was a big biopics guy. So, but that being aside, I think with Janine, Janine was that player who has always had the most unluckiest of plays. As we saw in her match against John Humphrey, she did a great job staying well within a 2-point gap, but then she got unlucky by getting DC movies to where John Humphrey got steals off of her, to where she got all 3 of her questions in that 3rd round, and then John Humphrey, just all he had to do was answer a few to win. So Janine has that smarts if she wants to dip her toes back into IG again. But also, her use on teams, though, she and Ethan Irwin had a good chemistry with Time Machine. And she definitely helped cover gaps in knowledges where Ethan was just unlucky in, especially when it comes to certain areas and avenues like romance movies and animated movies. But sure, I can see your trepidation with Janine because her record may not speak well for her as a player, but with me and my co-host from Mount Shmile, we always try not to look at the records to determine. We always look at the matches. But even then, with Janine, she's a 3-year veteran now. She is I'm pretty sure now that she's gotten more people to lean off of with Andraco, with Snyder, and with Brittany Young, someone to really go back and forth with. And I think with her veteran experience and with some of the rookies coming in, and I know we're going to bring this up with the picks of Jacoby and Christina, I think Janine is going to have the most to benefit with Roxy because she and Jay they were a great combination, but I think Roxy, she will be that manager to take a lot of the attention because Roxy is the perfect manager to take a lot of the attention away from people so her players can focus on trivia alone, like we've seen with Snyder. Of course, yeah, she may feel like more of a support player, but when it comes to managing, if you're not there to support your players, you're not there. You're not a manager in general. Sure, managing can be more of a leading position, more of a position to where you have to prioritize and coordinate and even compartmentalize. And I'm going to give Roxy a lot because she has one of the most diverse. Her and Kate have one of the most diverse rosters I've seen, with a collection of rookies, players, of men and women. And I do think they came out really looking very good on this. But mainly talking about those 3 alone, if she chooses to have Janine solely focus on IG, have Brandon Hannah maybe solely focus on teams, she is doing a good job directing well, because then none of these players don't have to stretch themselves out. They don't have to play in 3 separate divisions unless they're asked to. That way, let's say throughout the first start of the season, if Janina's solely an IG, she doesn't have to worry about jumping her stuff in the teams because Roxy has 6 more players to handle that. And same with Brandon Hanna because he wanted to try teams last season with Jader. It didn't work out. And if you saw with Brandon, he was really leaning on like being a support player and also jumping in on questions he was positive about. So Brandon Hanna.
Oh, he played. They both played well in that match. Individually, the issue was it was clear they were 2 guys who'd only ever talked through text. They just didn't have the team chemistry down. But they both played very well. If they had had more practices, and again, that whole the burning Droog, so one season in the league is just the whole team was a mess of a thing. And again, this is no. I brought it up last week on the show as an example, and this is no ill will towards Ken Knapsack, but the moment to me that told me there was just nothing going right for the Droogs was when JTE was on After Dark and basically revealed that the reason he wasn't in the singles tournament was because Ken wasn't even fully aware that he was on the team. Like, Ken got put in charge of a team and didn't even have wasn't given a straight up roster of like, who's here? Oh, I can use them? Cool. You know, that's why he got thrown into the horror free-for-all, because it was like, oh, he finally realized, oh, he's a member. And that's what I'm saying. It's no ill will towards anyone, but it just, that was a mess of a team. So we'll go ahead. I want to wrap up soon because we're just over the hour mark, but I'll throw out one final thing related to the Stars. I don't have much of an opinion on it. Because the only fan league players I have any connection or know with all going in this year was Amaru, who obviously went super early, and someone who some of you guys may not know, but I know from way back in the day, Jacob Blunden, who I was excited to see get drafted as well, because I think he's a really good player who just stepped away from the fan leagues for a while. But there was this fan league 4, which was Amaru, Jacoby, Christina, and I'm forgetting the 4th one offhand.
Peggy Gubbins.
Yes, and again, I don't know anything about the other 3. They came into the fan leagues well after I stepped away. I don't know anything about them. The only one I've seen compete in anything was we have another show on our channel, the Supernova Show, hosted by Colton Roberts, and Christina competed in a 10-question exhibition on that, and it wasn't the strongest performance I've seen, but I don't know if that was just the questions didn't go her way or what her experience is otherwise. There seems to be a lot of hype behind these players that it's just not something I understand. So I'll let you guys get into just briefly so we can wrap it up what you guys know about them.
Yeah.
Kevin, go ahead, Ryan. Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
Okay. Well, of course, we all know much about Amaru, and
I want to say his name right. He's going to be there.
Before he got drafted, I was in a faction with him, so he personally didn't care if I called him Amaru or not. But the funny thing with Amaru, he was a great pick, but that's to talk about the suspects. And but one thing personally, I say Suspects got a great player. I've studied with Amaru. I know he's deadly in IG. And the funny thing was, I was actually meant to be a team. I was meant to be Amaru's next team partner in the team's division, but he got drafted, so it's not going to happen. And with Peggy, I've talked with her so many times. I never got a chance to play her, but I've seen her host. I've seen her play. She does have that great knowledge, and she has in-depth when it comes with certain films that the SchmoeTalks doesn't ask questions about, or certain decades the SchmoeTalks doesn't ask movie questions about. So she is a great pickup for the Den. But Jacoby and Christina, I love these 2. I do love Christina. I played with her. I've done movie panel topics discussions with her. She is so passionate. I mean, I wouldn't have let that 10 question exhibition be your only impression of her. She knows her films. She does. I mean, without a doubt of her mind, she has great knowledge of so many different categories out there. It's just, the luck of the question. But then when it comes with certain slices, like with rom-coms, with maybe 80s and 90s movies, when it comes with animation movies, she is your girl for those. Trust me when I tell you, she has the knowledge. She she's a big Chris Evans fan. So trust me, if there's any movie that Chris Evans has been in, she is going to knock it out of the park. And she's so charismatic on the microphone that you're going to be in love with her after the first 30 seconds she starts talking. Jacoby, I'm in the same group with him. I was in the same faction with him like I was with Amaru. Trust me, Amaru, if you watch this, you can ride me on this however you want. But Jacoby, that is somebody who not only takes the game seriously, but loves to have fun. He likes to kick back. He loves to chill. And Roxy did she picked a great player on her team. So Jacoby, he's also a triple threat, singles, teams, and IG. He may not be listed in the draft HQ. I know from experience, and I know from studying. He's a damn good triple threat. So if you pair him with Janine, you pair him with Brandon, you even have him do some study sessions with Alex Damon, he's going to make sure they are up to the task and they are going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen that just because somebody's listed a certain way doesn't mean they may not have experience. We got that example perfectly this year of, unless you knew him, nobody really knew that Chance Ellison could play IG. That on the outset to people seemed like they not have another person, so they're chucking him in. Dude won it. So it's like, clearly just because they write something doesn't always mean that's where the buck stops. So yeah, before we close up, Kevin, go ahead. Yeah, again, you know more about these two than I do, so please go ahead and enlighten me.
Absolutely. I'll start off just because I missed him. Amaru, I love the guy. Rue is a great person. He fully deserves this. But he is not just strictly your IG guy. He can light it up in singles, teams. He's got the knowledge, I can tell you that. So he will be a champion for sure. I don't know when, but be on the lookout. Peggy was my team partner in multiplex for a while, and we advanced. We beat an established team as a rookie team. We were ranked 7th for a while. We did very well. So she is a studier. She's very passionate about the game, and very good at the game. She is very knowledgeable, like Ryan said, in a lot of certain specialty skill sets like rom-coms and things that you don't really like, that a lot of people aren't focused on. But as far as Christina, I don't know that much about Christina other than I know she's more focused on the singles and team side of things. But I do know that she's super passionate about it, and her mic work is like just awesome. But Jacoby is fantastic. I already mentioned earlier, he's a 3-tool player. And I think, like Ryan said, he'll be a real asset to this team, whether they use him to, I think he could team up with Janine. He could team up with another rookie. He's just so charismatic, just in his presentation. Like when you're on a call with him, I say in a room with him, whatever, but, you just feel more, at ease. He can make you laugh, and then he's just funny and just naturally kind of puts people at ease. So very cool guy, but super smart, super good at singles and teams, and definitely has that IG knowledge there too. So definitely some people to watch out for sure. I think Roxy did some homework there with the family for.
Absolutely. And with that, guys, we are 6 factions down, 2 more to go. I want to thank Kevin and Ryan for joining me today. You guys can find them on all things TMG, and please, guys, check out Ryan's other show, Mount Schmoedown, with Ben and Brandon. Great show. I've had the pleasure of being on it once. It's a really fun show, a really unique perspective look at the Schmoedown. So please be sure to check their stuff out, guys, wherever you can find them. Please be sure, guys, check out the previous episodes we've put up. Yesterday, we had our first three look at the first three teams go up. Tomorrow, we'll be covering the final two, Swag and Corruption. The plan right now is to have Kevin back with me for that one. And another member of the TMG will be joining us, someone who I don't actually believe has ever spoken really about the Schmoedown on camera, which will be a very interesting look. But with that being said, guys, thank you guys for checking out SchmoeTalks. My name is Aaron Knoll, and thank you guys for being here with us. We'll see you next time.